looks like faith-based films and faith-based entertainment in general is having a really big comeback in Hollywood right now, gaining traction because it's been a long time since the likes of God's Not Dead gave faith-based films a terrible reputation. I remember watching that one myself and just cringing the entire time, despite the fact that I agree with these people who are making the movie on religious grounds. They were incapable of making one that resonated with a wider audience. I see a couple of projects that are currently in the works ahead of their release that are quite promising. The first of which is one I was worried about. A sequel to Passion of the Christ, directed by Mel Gibson.
This time it's personal.
Most likely starring Jim Caviezel. I have no idea what they're going to do to de-age Jim Caviezel. I'm not saying that he looks terrible for his age, but it's been a quarter century.
Yeah.
So...
When was Passion of the Christ? 2004? Something like that?
Was it? I thought it was 2001 for a second.
Okay, but early 2000s.
But yeah, it's been a while since the original came out, and now Mel Gibson is looking to create a sequel to come out in a couple years' time, probably. He's teasing it here in this interview with Joe Rogan.
I do recommend everyone go and listen to this interview. It's actually really, really good. But here we go.
Yeah.
So
he's very engaging.
This story that you want to tell about good and evil, like, do you have a script or is it just a thing in your head? What is it?
Yeah, it's the resurrection story, but it's not linear, because you can't really. It's hard to understand, so it's got to be put in a framework where you answer a few other questions as well. And you have to juxtapose the event itself against everything else so that it makes some kind of sense in a bigger picture, which is a hard thing to do. And it took my brother and I and a guy called Randall Wallace, plus my brother and I, took us 6-7 years to write it.
So are you doing this with historians as well? Are you trying to make it...
Yeah, historical stuff. Well, I regard the Gospels as history. It's verifiable history. Some people say, "Oh, it's a fairy tale." He never existed, but he did. And there are other accounts, verifiable historical accounts outside the biblical ones that also bear this up. That yes, he did exist. And the other aspect of that is that all the evangelists, the apostles who went out there. Every single one of those guys died rather than deny their belief. And nobody dies for a lie. Nobody.
Right.
So that's part of what I'm doing. It's like showing nobody dies for a lie.
Okay.
We have a 20 from Olivia. Passion of the Christ 2. Jesus returns on a pterodactyl, and this time he's not effing around.
What did I say yesterday? I was like Passion of the Christ 2, this time it's personal.
Electric Boogaloo. I mean,
I like Christ harder. Like
the meme potential is off the charts, and this is exactly what I was worried about. You know, even the whole precedent of creating a sequel to a movie about Jesus seems a little bit cartoonish to me. You know, seems a little
bit more passion.
Like, I don't know, there are so many other faith-based stories that you could do that don't just capitalize on the one that you did in the early 2000s that was great as its own standalone piece of art.
I would probably say that given the fact that the audience for a sequel to this and the audience for one that explores a different area of faith-based storytelling would be the same audience, so it's not like you're hitting yourself with like an unrecognizable story most of the time, right? The novelty of the genre is usually enough to bring out the people who like that type of storytelling. So you don't need to lean on a sequel to that storytelling.
Right, which is why, for instance, The Chosen is going to conclude. And they have plans to make a series, I believe, about King David.
Yeah.
That's a less known story, a less known figure, obviously, than Jesus.
Yeah.
That would probably attract a different audience. than just doubling down on the same thing.
Well, no, I think that's a lot of the same audience. I think the people that would watch The Chosen or the people that watch Passion of the Christ would be hungry for more storytelling of a similar nature.
Well, I don't know. I feel like Father Stu is like one of the best religious movies I've ever seen, and I had no idea who he was when I came into it.
I mean, but that was also portrayed as more of like the tale of a person more than religious.
But I like
history.
that.
Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite movies of 2022.
That's something that people like about The Chosen is it feels like a real story about a person rather than a mythological version of it, you know?
So we don't just have that.
Yeah, I also saw the first trailer come out for an Angel Studios animated movie called King of Kings, starring Oscar Isaac, of all people, as Jesus in the movie.
I'm sorry, but the image of it's very memeable. It's very bobblehead. It looked like Keanu Reeves'
the
bobblehead.
Animation style,
the
it
trailer
looks like
is really good. The trailer is really good, but the art style for Jesus is memeable.
This was made by a South Korean animation studio, and then it was later bought. The rights were bought by Angel Studios to release it. It's inspired by Charles Dickens' short story, The Life of Our Lord. He read this story annually to his family as a Christmas tradition, but the work was largely unknown until it was published in 1934. The story follows Charles Dickens, his son Walter, and their cat Willa as they become immersed in the story of Jesus. So that's why Charles Dickens is in the trailer for this movie, which I also found confusing at first.
Dingus Khan is correct in the chat. He says N64 graphics. Yes. It does look like you're playing the game GoldenEye with DK mode on, big head mode on, and you're playing it as Jesus. That's a bit what it looks like.
Okay, well,
I'm here for
let's
it.
take a look at the trailer.
Here we go.
I'd like to tell you a story, son. Some say it's the greatest story ever told.
Hold, please. Horrible timing, as usual.
The greatest story ever told, and we have to stop for a crisis party. Thank you.
With the beat drop. Okay. Out of respect, I'm going to restart.
Okay.
I'd like to tell you a story, son. Some say it's the greatest story ever told. It has angels and wicked kings, jealous rivals, and miracles.
Open your eyes.
Our story begins 2,000 years ago. The young woman named Mary would soon bring a beautiful baby into the world.
Wait, whoa, stop. If it's not about a king, then I'm not interested.
It just so happens that this story is about a king.
One prophecy speaks of.
Look, Willa! Look at all the fish!
Look, I saw The
Time
Chosen.
for
I know where
Jesus
that's
to
from.
gather a few friends, like Judas Iscariot.
He gains more followers every day.
Find him.
There's not nearly enough food here to feed all of these people. The people are calling him king.
Then we turn the people against him.
Are you king of the Jews?
If it's what God wants, I'll accept it. And so should you.
Thank you, Daddy.
Uma Thurman and Mark Hamill?
Pierce Brosnan?
What the hell?
Jesus still had lessons to teach us.
Look!
Don't be afraid.
You really are the true king of kings.
It's time.
Whatever money it cost, they spent it on the talent for this movie. Because
That-
that is a
yeah.
crazy list of
Absolutely
stars.
stacked.
Like
so they say
Kenneth
Kenneth
Branagh.
Branagh and then Uma Thurman, Mark Hamill, Pierce Brosnan, and obviously
Oscar Isaac.
Roman Griffin Davis.
And I saw Forrest
Whitaker.
Like, that's a lot of big name actors.
Kingsley.
And Ben Kingsley. That's a lot of big name actors that cost a lot of money.
That is huge. But they had that lineup before Angel Studios acquired the rights.
I don't think Mark Hamill would have done it if
this. Yeah, that's why I was surprised to see his name, especially.
Yeah. He doesn't act very Christian these days.
And you know, it's a well done trailer, despite the
mediocre animation, great pacing and editing.
Yeah, it's not.
That score will get you no matter how the images look.
Yeah, it was evocative.
Yep.
So, higher hopes for that.
That got me more than any of the other things that we've watched in this space lately. Like I would watch that.
Most of the comments that I saw in response to this trailer were expressing shock that Oscar Isaac would take the lead role.
Yeah. Why? Because they think he's above this somehow?
They do. They think that an actor of Oscar Isaac's caliber would be cut above doing anything faith-based because it has lesser clout in the industry.
All of those actors are of Oscar Isaac's level.
Yeah, they were kind of expressing shock that any of these people would attach their name to a project like this.
Yeah.
But one person referring to Oscar Isaac said, Marvel promised an Avenger role to this guy and left him stranded. He has to make money somehow.
Yeah.
You know, when traditional establishment Hollywood doesn't come through for you, you have to go to other venues. And then someone else pointed out, people don't understand the genuine level of power that faith-based studios have in the industry. They don't understand that actors need money, and this won't be an outlier. It's sort of like the Blumhouse effect in a way. These are like relatively low-budget projects that have a very loyal audience that will come back to each project time and time again.
Or A24.
Yeah, A24 as well.
So I still like my idea of the wacky comedy where the guy for the I would call it Apostle Studios, and he wants Keanu Reeves, because I still say this guy, like, I still say they use Keanu Reeves as some type of like
Keanu Reeves would actually do a great job being a voice actor for Jesus.
So I
think about it.
What it is it's a comedy where this guy who's paradoxically he's kind of toxic, but he works for like a religious studio. And he wants Keanu Reeves to play Jesus. So he organizes a bunch of slapstick means to get him canceled in the industry, and they keep failing. And he can't get him canceled. And at the end, Keanu admits that he'd do it for them anyways. He's like, I would have just done it anyways. Hilarity could ensue with that movie. I want to watch it.
I want to see that too.
Yeah. As for Mark Hamill, like maybe he just felt like he's been developing some bad mojo lately, and he needed to cleanse his soul. I don't think that that's the case.
Or he just thought that this movie would be successful and he wasn't attached to it in any type of ideological way.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.